working our way through basically a pile of worm poop right now. And that is because we keep a bin of worms that start out in just a bin of peat moss that's a little bit damp. We put our organic material like the ends of carrots or the skins of avocados or different things. We put those in the bin for the worms to chew on, and as they chew on those, of course, it has to come out the other end. And just like any other animal, I mean, you might use cow manure for fertilizer, but worm manure or vermiculture works just as well, actually probably better. It has several benefits, and one of those being that it does not burn your plants. So you can put this dirt, it's poop, but it looks like dirt, and I'm going to show you in a minute. You can put that directly on, around, under the roots, around the plant or whatever, and you don't have to worry about it hurting your plants. So I'm going to show you what we're doing here up close. This is about half the pile that we have. The rest of it, Dave was sitting right over here, but he has a bucket, and then I have this container here that I've knocked. That is dirt that does not have any worms in it, or at least none that we have seen. So we're picking out all of the worms, and what we do is we put, I kind of made a hole in the middle of the pile here when we dumped it out. And then anytime we see a worm in what we're going through, we put it in here. The worms hate sunshine, and so they like it dark, so they're going to automatically go down under the pile. So if we kind of lifted up the pile, I don't know if this will work, you can see lots of worms down in there moving. And we're just working around the edges and on the top, trying to avoid where all the worms are until the last minute, so those worms can go in their new home. So Dave just brought this bag out. This is what we buy. I think I get it at Lowe's.
That's
and
coconut course up there.
Yes, okay, so here is a leftover to put in there also. This is coconut coir, and you just put it in water and it expands and it goes in there with it. It's supposed to be really good for them. And then this peat moss is it's just dirt. There's no chemicals, there's no additives, there's nothing in it that's gonna hurt the worms or change anything. The worms are just living in the dirt. So you can see a difference. Hold that down here next to this stuff and see the difference in color.
Explain to them how you have to hydrate it and get it to where.
Right, so this is really, really dry right now. You do have to add water and hydrate it, but even when there's water added, it doesn't look as dark as this right here, just because this is so rich in nutrients and everything. It's so good for your plants. So you can see in our pile, we've got, these are pieces of potato skin. Those are not the most ideal thing. They do take a long time to break down, and the worms don't eat them a lot, but we eat a lot of potatoes. Over here, you'll see I've picked out several avocado skins. These are perfect. If you can see, there is nothing left in here. It's just the skin. You know, when you use an avocado, there's still some goop left on the inside, and that is one of the worm's favorite foods. Pretty much anything else that was left in here is unrecognizable. Those are the only two things that you can really recognize right now. So they do a really good job of composting, and then they give you their poop in return, which is great for the plants.
The moss that she was just talking about, when we hydrate it, we take a bucket, and most of the time she's sitting here pulling all the worms out, and I'll be in the other room with buckets and water hydrating this up. And pretty much what I'll do is this is like the dry point right here, and I'll get it to the point whenever I grab a handful of it, I can squeeze it and I just start to see water coming out of it. If you put worms in this right here, they would dry out and kill them instantly. But and the same with water. If you're too wet too, then they can't breathe in there because there's just nothing but water. So you got to get to just the point where there's liquid in there and you can just squeeze it out.
We keep this bin sitting in our dining room just over in the corner. Nobody that comes over notices or says, "What is that?" I wish they would, because it would be funny to tell them that we have worms in our kitchen. But they just sit there. They don't stink because they're eating the food. The food doesn't rot. The poop doesn't smell. There's absolutely no smell to doing this. And that keeps them handy for, you know, it's right next to the kitchen. When we do have those scraps, we can put them in and let them have it. When you do feed them, you kind of put it in the corner and you cover it up, and they just, you know, they don't crawl around on top of the dirt. Of course, they're under the dirt, and they go and they find that food and eat it.
This is the lid that we keep on top of ours. It was nothing more than I took a hole saw and drilled holes in and took some caulk and put screen over them to make holes so where the worms couldn't come out through the holes.
So this right here that I'm putting the dewormed compost in, this is actually the container that they live in. And you'll notice, you can see we have holes drilled in the bottom. And I mentioned, you know, this sits in our dining room. We do have it sitting on an extra lid so that if any liquid were to come out through the bottom, it wouldn't ruin the floors, but that just doesn't happen. If you feed them correctly, you don't overfeed them, you keep the dirt moist but not soaking wet, then it just stays exactly where it needs to be and you don't have a mess. Here you see one of the worms. You can see how big it is compared to my finger. They're very small worms. They're very skinny, probably about 3 centimeters long or so. Right next to this worm right here, it's kind of up next to it, right there is an egg. So that's what the worms hatch out of. And when we go through the dirt, we don't try to pick out every egg. The worst thing that's going to happen is these eggs are going to hatch in our garden, and then we'll have worms in the garden, which is great. And that's how they keep their population up. They lay eggs, the eggs hatch, and we have more worms. All right, I have the pile down to about this big now. We're getting there, and Dave wants to show you the prepared moss.
If you can see here, I can squeeze it, and I can make, hard to show you, I can make water come out of it, but then it goes right back in it. You see that? But it's just enough where you can squeeze some out of it, because if it's to where there's actually water floating in there, then the worm can't live in it like that. I mean, they need moisture and they need it to be warm or have water in there, but not they don't need to be swimming.
Okay, here we're down to just worms. There's just, you know, a little bit of dirt on top, but you can see mostly worms. And I'm going to show you, this is the smallest pile of worms we've ever had left after a harvest. But to be quite honest, I have not been doing a good job taking care of the worms, and any worm that is alive is here because of Dave. So I'm thankful for that. But let me just turn this over here. There we go. This is what we got out of the worm bin. So this is a 5-gallon bucket, almost completely full of the darkest, richest compost that you could ever want. And so when we plant our tomatoes, some of this is going to go with each tomato plant. Coming over here to see how Dave's doing with the new dirt for him. He's been mixing it up with water. You saw how dry it was, and so now it's the right consistency, and he's put some of the coconut coir in there also. And we're just about ready to put this little pile of worms in their new home. All right, so here is the pile of worms. You can see all of them in here. There are a lot of worms. It's just not near as many as we hope to have. But anyway, we're just going to lay these down right here, and they will take themselves where they want to go and be happy in their home very soon. So we gave them a little bit of the potato skins that were in here. I think we're gonna, we don't have anything ready right now. We should have had some food ready for them because we just, took everything. They just have bare dirt now. So I think we're gonna get some carrots and blend them up, ready to eat, so they don't have to wait for it to break down, so that they'll have something good to eat. And hopefully this group of worms will grow, and next time we compost in about 3 months, we'll have a whole lot more worms than this.